Some of you might have seen another announcement coming out of these handheld PC companies, and a new contender has entered the field. Lesser known amongst its peers though, but a company that I am very familiar with. Zotac has been a very big player in the PC hardware space, making graphics cards and whatnot on all manner of PC accessories and hardware. Quite famously, they made things like the Zotac brick PCs, which are micro PCs that were billed as potential gaming or streaming boxes. So that was probably the impetus for this idea many years ago. So it's very interesting to see that Zotac, of all people, is entering the handheld PC space with a, I would say, pretty compelling option. Uniquely amongst its peers, it does not use an AMD Xeon Extreme, but instead uses an AMD Ryzen 7 8840U. But that doesn't really matter because the Xeon Extreme based systems are based off of the AMD Ryzen 7840U, which the difference between the two might seem large, but in the grand scheme doesn't matter all that much, considering they're only a generation apart, both laptop CPUs, and both use the same 780M integrated graphics, which, don't get me wrong, they're amazing, but exactly the same. So functionally, yes, this is a newer architecture or generation of processor, but functionally not going to be the biggest deciding factor when it comes to gaming performance. Other features it has is a 7-inch 1080p AMOLED display, which is really nice. I love to see more AMOLED displays, but with the caveat that it does not support VRR, which is disappointing for some people, and it's really nice to have because having VRR does make games that are just on the edge of not playable feel more playable. So you can allow yourself to, be comfortable with a slightly lower FPS, and that is ideal because the experience feels a little bit better thanks to having VRR. It just helps to smooth out that experience, and the lack of it is disappointing, but for some people that is a good enough trade-off to have OLED. The overall viewing experience is a lot better on OLED than it is on more traditional IPS panels. Something that the display does do better than any of its competitors, it has 800 nits peak brightness, which is amazing. For bare minimum HDR content, you need at least 400 nits, 600 if you want to actually call it HDR, and 800 is just actual HDR, and it's awesome. The Steam Deck OLED has made a name for itself because of how amazing its OLED HDR experience is, and this display should be even better. Other features it has is a 2-stage adjustable triggers, which is very similar to the kind you would see on like an Xbox Elite controller or a Power A Fusion controller, which is the one I personally have because I didn't need it to be wireless. For me personally, I won't see a lot of use in the 2-stage triggers, but I'm sure some people would really like that. For the hyper-competitive gamers out there who are playing on a mobile PC, cool to have, probably won't get a lot of use out of it personally. It has 2 rear buttons, which in all honesty, I actually kind of hate having rear buttons. I've never made any use for them. I am too lazy to remap them to anything for shortcuts, and overall, I just find them overall a bother, and I hate touching them on the back, especially on the Steam Deck when there's 4 of them. Since I use Windows, I don't really have a lot of uses for the rear buttons. I can remap them to things, but just not worth it to me for the trouble to setting all that up. And I understand it's not that big of a deal, but I just personally never play games that would warrant those features or run into problems where I need to map them for quick access things in Windows or even SteamOS. So overall, I just would prefer not to have them there in the first place for better ergonomics. It has a radial dial for instant settings adjustment, which I don't quite understand or think would be all that useful, though it is nice to see that it sets itself apart from other systems. It offers a front-facing camera, which is actually the first for most of these systems. Most of these handheld PCs don't have any camera whatsoever, and having a front camera actually kind of makes this thing a little bit more useful for people who want to use this as their only computing device. So it allows you to have a webcam, and so you just look down at that when you're in a Zoom call or something, and then continue using it as your primary PC. So I feel like for everyday users, that actually might be an incredibly convenient feature. On top of having the front face cam, it also has Windows Hello, which is awesome. You don't really see that very often on these Windows handhelds either. And I find that incredibly convenient over the fingerprint scanner that we've seen typically on these kinds of devices. I come from using an iPhone as my daily driver phone. And with Face ID, it's just really quick and snappy. I've used Windows laptops with Windows Hello on it, and it's incredibly quick. So it's pretty awesome to see that come to a handheld. So you don't have to push a button. You just need to wake the device, it'll scan your face, and you automatically get dumped in. One of my biggest annoyances with the Steam Deck with using Windows on it is I have to punch in my PIN every time I want to log into the damn thing. It also has Hall effect joysticks and triggers, which for some people that might be incredibly important. I have never really encountered any stick drift issues on a full-size analog stick unless it's like an incredibly old and battered controller from like the Xbox 360 days. So while having Hall effect sticks is appreciated and a really nice feature, to me isn't all that important because I've never run into the issue on full-size analog sticks. I've only ever run into it Nintendo Switch, like most of us. A feature Zotac just blatantly copied from the Steam Deck is having the dual touchpads, and I'm happy. I used to poo-poo the dual touchpads on the Steam Deck, but after using them for a long time, I actually now see the value in them. They're amazing, and seeing that move to other devices is awesome. My biggest complaint with the ROG Ally is that it doesn't have a touchpad. The Legion Go improves upon that by having one, but I wish it was a little bit bigger. And the Zotac has two big meaty boys of touchpads. It looks awesome, and I bet it would feel amazing to use. It also comes with 16 gigabytes of DDR5X RAM at 7,500 megatransfers per second, which is faster than both the ROG Ally and the Legion Go, which that RAM speed improvement on the Legion Go helped it outperform the ROG Ally. And it's up in the air whether or not having that little bit extra speed against the Legion Go would offer any appreciable benefit, considering the higher you go, you start to enter the realm of diminishing returns. But I'd be super interested to see how that turns out, and especially how it shakes down in performance numbers, see how big or small the gap is, because I'm expecting there to be a performance difference, but whether how big or small it is what I'm really trying to figure out. With that, it also supports a full-size M.2 slot. Something that is a tiny bit upsetting is that amongst its peers' recent announcements, the new MSI Claw, which is insane, that's only been out for 3 months and they're already making a new one, and the ROG Ally X, those two devices both have 80 watt-hour batteries, while this one has a much more modest 48 watt-hour battery, very similar to what the Steam Deck OLED has. So I'm not expecting amazing battery life, but thanks to having an OLED screen, it should be better than its other, commensurately similar devices, like the original ROG Ally and the Legion Go. You get all of that for the tasty price of $800, which is starting to become a trend. I've noticed all of these PC handheld manufacturers are slowly increasing their prices, and I don't necessarily blame them. There are outside factors affecting that, but I don't know why they all settled on $800 being that price point. I'm a big fan. The max I would pay for one of these PC handhelds is $600. So it still remains to be seen how amazing this device is and whether or not it's truly worth it at $800. But as it stands now, I really wouldn't wait for this thing. If you're that hard up for getting a PC handheld and you like all the features this offers, just get something like the Legion Go, which offers similar enough features that you won't be missing anything. The only thing I can think of you might be missing is Windows Hello. But in the grand scheme of things, it's not that big of a deal because you're going to have to turn on the device anyways, and so you're going to be touching the fingerprint scanner in the first place. So it's not that much of an inconvenience. So I would pick up a Legion Go used or on eBay or even layaway or clearance or something like that. Even a nice enough sale. Make sure it's around $500-600, and I think that's a great deal, an even better deal than something like this, especially considering that it would be close to $200 cheaper. So what do you guys think? I don't really know what to think about this myself. I think it's really cool, and I just love that other companies are getting involved, but it's starting to feel a little samey, especially the design. But leave a comment down below. I'm super interested in what you guys think. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. All the social media garbage down below. And last but not least, have a wonderful day.